can we go to New York? Because Mamdani wants your money, folks. And honestly, he's getting sick and tired of the fact that the governor's not supporting him raising taxes, and it's not cool. It's not cool. And they forced him to do this. You know what he sounds like? He sounds like the spouse that hits the wife and says, you made me do this. I would have never done this to you. You made me do this. Mamdani sounds like that. Rob, do you have the clip? Is this the one, Rob? The one that this is the one. Okay. Watch this here, folks. Go ahead.
Would rather do is ensure that they remain as they are so that the city can be on firm financial footing. However, in order to get to this point of closing the gap on both this fiscal year and the next fiscal year, we are forced. To raid the rainy day fund, the retiree health benefits trust reserve, and to increase property taxes across these other years.
There you go. Okay, so what is this one? What is the next one, Rob, that you have?
This is just him going into more detail.
Play it.
Tax increase. This would effectively be a tax on working and middle-class New Yorkers who have a median income of $122,000. The second path also requires us to raid our reserves. It would mean withdrawing $980 million from our city's rainy day fund in fiscal year 2026 and $229 million from the Retiree Health Benefit Trust in fiscal year 2027. These are steps that have been taken before, but only in moments of extraordinary external crisis. Mayor Bloomberg's response to the 2008 financial collapse and Mayor de Blasio's response to the enormous revenue shortfall caused by the pandemic. We do not want to have to turn to such drastic measures to balance our budget.
That's a threat. That's the
point. It's blackmail.
Yeah.
This is totally blackmail.
Can continue.
Yeah, we saw it happen in the UK.
Be careful, though. The guy to your right lives there. So you go ahead, continue.
No, we probably agree.
But no, we saw it in the UK. What happens is leftist governments come in and they say, oh, my God, we just discovered these numbers, and these numbers are horrific. The only way we can get out of this crisis is if we tax the hell out of everybody. And, oh, by the way, we're raising expenses. We're going to raise expenses to do all the stuff that we want to do. The UK did that in 2024. The Labour government comes in. They say, oh, my God, we have this massive shortfall. We now have to institute a payroll tax, which eventually created lots of job losses on top of everything else. But typical playbook. That's what happens. And the other side of that is if you don't give us the money, look at the language you use. The only time we've ever done this, 2008. 2020. It will be catastrophic unless you get the state government to fund every last thing that we want the state government to fund.
Pomp.
I got a lot to say about this because we warned everybody this was going to happen. How funny is it that the guy who promised free transportation, free food, and free child care is now saying we ain't got enough money? Well, the first thing you do is stop giving out free stuff. That's the first thing. The second thing is he said that we have two options. Those two options, oh, you already found it. Yeah, you're already on top of this. All right, so the second thing is that he says we got two options. We can either have the New York State increase our budget, or we could tax the hell out of homeowner or the rich and the profitable businesses. Well, we got a third option. Why don't we just spend less money? You may say, how do we do that? Well, back in this tweet I sent to him, to our amazing mayor, on January 29th. I responded to him and I said, hey, let me give you a couple of examples, because he announced these chief savings officers. And I said, all right, well, if there's these chief saving officers, just search my name in chief savings officer. I said, let's make the big cuts, right? I said, New York City needs a leader with the backbone to make the hard decisions. I believe you're young and enthusiastic enough to pull this off if you wanted to. For example, there's $3 to $4 billion of annual savings that could be captured if you merely stop the aggressive enhancement to city workers' retirement benefits and you cut the ridiculous administrative bloat inside the Department of Education. And you could accomplish this without losing any teachers, firemen, police officers, or city workers. You wouldn't have to raise taxes on anyone. Every hospital and school would stay open. And you don't need the chief savings officers. So there is the closing of this gap by him simply just saying, we are not moving forward, going to keep increasing aggressively the benefits to all of the retirees. So people who aren't retired yet, we're just going to stop making bigger and bigger promises to them. Just keep it where it is. And then 40% of the New York City budget goes to the Department of Education, and the number of administrators there has absolutely exploded. And so when you look at this, you start to say to yourself, this is not a revenue problem. This is a spending problem. And if they have a $122 billion budget, the state of Florida is $117 billion. There's 15 more million people that live in the state of Florida than in New York City. How the hell is New York City spending more money than the entire state of Florida on a budget?
It's not a spending problem; it's a philosophy problem. It's
crazy.
Mamdani he's exactly who we thought he was, and he advertises the entire
I actually
way. So
love
people,
that he's coming through.
Yeah, people.
I love that he's doing exactly what we thought he's going to do.
People voted for this.
Yep.
They voted for the fantasy and the fairy tale, and once you vote for it, you're kind of stuck with it. And that's the political process that goes on here. Is that you vote for all the stuff, and then the blackmail happens to make sure that it happens.
Well, you want to know what I think is going to end up happening?
Go for it.
He ain't going to get any of this done. No way. You know why? He's saying he's going to raise property taxes 10%. It's not like a 1% increase, 2% increase. Look at the people.
He said he's going to raise property tax 10%.
I think that's what he said, right? He said 10% increase in
9%,
property
something
taxes,
like that,
9.7% or something.
Yeah.
To who, though? To who?
Everybody.
Homeowners.
People above 122.
In the clip you played, he said, "Look, this is going to hit middle class earners, which are the people he's supposed to be protecting."
Yeah. But the biggest barrier to
So you're saying he's not going to be able to do it? Do you think he'll be able to do it?
32%.
They will revolt.
32% of New Yorkers own homes compared
It's the
to
lowest in other states.
the national
lowest
average
out
is
of all the states.
65, right? So we're at 32%.
Right.
Of the people who own the homes, everyone thinks that it's just rich people. But actually, if you look in Queens, the Bronx, etc., the homeowners there, they're not quote unquote rich. These are middle class, lower middle class Americans. You're going to raise their property taxes 10%? Stop.
and take the retirement money.
Stop.
That's
Who does he
the
need?
blackmail.
Who, Rob,
That's the
who does he
blackmail.
need for that to happen? Whose approval does he need?
Probably
He needs the state government. He needs Hochul to get on board.
But
with
he's
it.
trying to get
Congress,
around
too.
Hochul. He's trying to do it in a way without needing Hochul.
He's threatening.
Well, he's threatening. Look, I'm going to decimate your core voter audience.
I think it'd be the state Congress
State.
because they're out for financial.
This is New York City versus New York State.
But you know what? If you flip around to the other side, you want to see the future of politics? This guy is an incredible entertainer. Think about this. Trump, remember when he did the tariffs? He had the science fair boards come out, right? And they had all the tariff rates, and they were doing their science fair presentation. And everyone was like, look at these guys. You saw what Mamdani had? He had the science fair boards out. He was doing the whole. I mean,
He's duplicating Trump very closely.
he understands.
Everybody
He
else.
understands the
They're
game.
all doing.
Yeah.
They all doing it now.
Yeah, but by the way, I hope he comes through with all of it.
That's
I
what
hope he comes through with. I really hope he comes through with all
You get
of
what
it.
you vote for.
You know why though? No, let me
Damn,
tell you why
Pat,
though.
come
because
on.
I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why.
It took a morbid turn
Every
there.
once in a while, the world needs to be reminded of what doesn't work. Every once in a while, you need a reminder. And if a guy like this comes in, by the way, during COVID, what are the two states that lost $1 trillion of wealth that left? New York and California. Do you know right now the only state that has lost $1 trillion of wealth on two different occasions is California? Hasn't happened in New York yet. That article
Yeah.
hasn't hit yet,
Yeah.
but it's coming soon if he continues the way he's doing. And I'm encouraging him. Please continue with all this stuff. Keep doing it. For some of you guys that are in New York that are like, but he's not a bad guy. It's okay. You know, we hate, who were the other guys? Sliwa, or who is Sliwa, or who is Cuomo?
Did you see? You saw. This is very very sad, but I think that the number. Look up how many people died during the cold front. I think it was 16 or 20 people. So there's this standing philosophy that
Was
they
that
take
the
the homeless people off, right?
Yeah.
And he didn't take them in. He said, hey, if you want to stay outside, you stay outside. Obviously, a lot of people died. Not everyone died from the cold front. Some of these are drug overdoses, et cetera, right? But definitely there are people who died because they got left outside. But then I don't know if you guys saw recently the police shot and arrested a guy who ran at them with a knife. And Mamdani came out and he basically said, I think that you guys should take the handcuffs off of him and let him go.
I saw that.
And so you have two
And
things
he went
here.
and visited him at the hospital. Is that the one you're
Yeah.
talking about?
He should have
so-
been visited by a social worker.
Yes.
Yeah, and so
Yes,
now
I
you
saw
got
that.
two problems, right? One is I don't think anybody who says, "Hey, if you run at the cops with a knife, right, you should be free." But the second thing is now you have the mayor who's what is he going to inject himself into every single thing before the courts do? So what now? All of a sudden, if you got to go to a jury, every
hope
jury
he
member.
continues. I hope he continues. No, I'm telling you. You know why? You know why? Because all the people that had the money and the resources in New York, you could have done more. You could have done more. I hope he continues. You guys, and I'm not talking about you. The people that don't want to say the wrong thing to lose customers, who are like, well, I don't want to say anything because I don't want to seem like I'm against Mamdani. The people that stayed quiet, I'm so glad you're getting what you're getting. I'm so glad you're getting what you're getting. By the way, kudos to the people that got a ton of backlash that a lot of people said a lot of negative things about, who came out and said things. Kudos to you. Ackman was one of them. There's a few of them. You were out there saying stuff as well, but there was a few of them that were doing that. But the rest of you in New York, guess what? Your silence is causing this. Your silence. I don't want to get the other. Behind closed doors, some of the people were vocal, but I hope he keeps pushing the envelope and he succeeds. I'm banking on this guy succeeding. We need a new case study of what happens when you allow somebody like, and by the way, this is a trifecta of a candidate, because what you said right now is crime, right? Because that's safety. Then you have economical ideology,
Taxes,
which is capital, socialism and communism. Then you have religious, where he's out there, putting his hand on the Quran and speaking from the Quran on peace. So you have all three. And guess what scares some of the richer guys to speak against about? It's this here. They'll speak out against this, but this is why this is a perfect candidate that scares a lot of the billionaires and media people to say anything. And again, I'm rooting for you, buddy.
Well, it's all
What about
wrapped.
California though? So why isn't I would say why isn't California a case study that scared people out of that though? So
But it is though $1 trillion left.
but
it
they're still
is.
voting for him though. So do you think New York's ever gonna vote somebody like this out again?
No, but New York has voted Republican mayors. New York could have voted the mayor in a different way, and they didn't.
So
By the way, these days of just, you know what, I don't deal with politics. I'm just going to sit and grow my business, and I'm not going to do anything. Keep doing that. See what happens. There's a reason why eventually guys realize we need an office in Virginia. We need an office in
Florida,
D.C.
South
We
Florida.
need an office in some of these places. Why? Because you need the help of some of these guys that are behind closed doors, or else guys like this are going to run it and destroy. Maybe if you said, what is the greatest city in America? What is it? It's New York City. It's not even
The
close.
crypto industry is a great example of this. The
Yeah.
crypto industry for 12, 13 years said, hey, we're not into politics. We're outside the system. We don't care about all that stuff.
They changed.
Well, politics came for crypto, and guess what? All of a sudden, those guys turned on a dime. They raised a bunch of money. They got Sherrod Brown, a bunch of these guys out of office.
There's no atheists in foxholes.
Listen, I will tell you right now, you go to Washington, D.C., you know the number one thing that these politicians are scared of? The fair shake pack. They got a couple $100 million, and they are incredibly effective at going at some of these politicians. And so, again, money does have a huge impact on this stuff, but more importantly is that industry realized, hey, if we don't participate here, then we're going to get rules we don't like.
But this is part of we've seen this before. We've seen this playbook in smaller ways. I mean, why do cities vote heavily Democratic and have for decades? The reason is back in the 60s and 70s, they called it white flight. It was really getting away from Democratic policy. So those who are in the middle class all move to the suburbs. And what happens is the inner cities are left with either wealthy, ultra wealthy, or the vast majority are poor people. And the vast majority are poor people who get most of their livelihoods, for lack of a better term. They get welfare and state aid through the Democratic machine. So eventually, what the goal is to get rid of the safe people, to get rid of the middle class, and what's left will always vote for the uniparty or the single party, Democrats. It's playbook as we've seen all throughout history. Same thing, California. Why is California a one-party state? Anybody who could leave left.
Well, why do you think Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton recently came out and started saying that the mass migration, everything was a mistake, or
We have to
all that?
And homelessness in California. You're asking me, or
Yeah,
were
I'm
you gonna
asking you. No, I'm asking you.
No. I think where they're going right now is the following. The one part that I'm surprised Hillary's not distancing herself from, because they're going to lose. It's 10 out of 10 they lose. Is they are distancing from homelessness. She did say stuff about mass migration was a problem. She said that a couple of days ago. I think it was in Munich. I don't know where it was. Maybe another place that she did. But they are still keeping the position of transgender, interviewing somebody from that side. See, there are a lot of Democrats that don't subscribe to the transgender. You saw the $2 million lawsuit with the transitioner, detransitioner that came back. And by the way, over the next 5 years, you're going to see, in my opinion, hundreds of those happening all over the place. Doctors who help kids with puberty blockers are sitting around finding ways to get an insurance lawyer to protect them, because they know they're going to be targeted. It's coming their way in no time. You should have never touched the kids. You should have never touched the kids. So if you think about where politics goes away, Pomp, my opinion, is take Epstein and take the trans issue. There's Democrats and Republicans who are like, no, I'm good. I'm not there. Epstein, I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. You're on the list and you did something. I want to know about it, right? we don't do politics here. 85% of us, 90% of us, we get on the same page. So I think this is where they're realizing 2028 and midterms, they have to come a little bit to the center. If they don't go a little bit to the center, you got Mamdani, you got AOC, you got all these guys. If you don't come here, they're worried what happens in 2028. So maybe it's even a indirect way of Obama giving feedback to Newsom, okay, in his very gentle way. Because the way Obama will do it, it's a very massaged, gentle way to his own party. I think he is speaking to Newsom. I think they're worried about who's going to be their leading candidate for 2028. AOC is being talked about whether she wants to compete. She's number 2 right now on Kalshi. If you pull up the list, AOC is number 2 on Kalshi. Maybe it's changed as of today.
Yeah.
But Rob, if you pull it up,
Weak depth chart.
number 1 is Newsom. I think number 2 is AOC is number 2. Number 1 is Newsom. Go a little bit lower to see the rest of the names, Rob. So number 2, Kamala. Okay, John Ossoff and Shapiro and Kamala are 3rd. So that changed. Shapiro came up because he wasn't 3rd. Kamala was 3rd. Pritzker down. Buttigieg 5. But even with Buttigieg, did you hear what the stat came out about how many African-American men voted for Pete Buttigieg? Did you see that number?
No, how many?
0. 0. And Stephen A. Smith said on one of his shows, he says, we just don't do that.
Yeah.
You can't. So they have to go back to common sense.
It's if you really unpack it, and I've been fascinated with Trump's ability to be an outsider and to win. Forget all of his policies, forget him as a person, just as a student of communication on the internet and in modern society. One of the things that is kind of crazy, if you go on the internet and you look, there are people across all sorts of different demographics that would say, hey, that's my president, that's the guy I voted for, all that kind of stuff. But also, there's a guy who's got, gold toilets in Manhattan, has convinced, farmers in Iowa that they're the same person, right?
But he speaks their language, though.
But that's the thing is, I do think that the polished politician has kind of gone to the side. And I actually think that's why Mamdani is so compelling to people, is because he's speaking to like a millennial generation in their language, in their format.
I'm so glad he's winning.
Trump is FDR.
I'm so glad
he's
winning.
the guy who says, FDR was the same thing, gold toilets, everything all about that. FDR was the guy who said, I hear you, I listen to you. People thought they could actually be heard during the Great Depression, of course. Trump, same thing. He got elected in 2016 by saying the unemployment rate's fake. Rust Belt, lost all these jobs. I'm going to do something about it. He connected to people in the same way, even though he's not the prototypical, red state, rural area politician. That's what everybody else is trying to replicate. How do we become Trump? How do we find disaffected voices and become their outlet?
We have our annual Sales Leadership Summit that is coming up this year. We're doing it at the Trump Doral. I went to the property the other day. Unbelievably beautiful property. And if you're a sales person or a sales leader or a CEO that wants to drive sales and find superstars and develop superstars, Rob, play that clip that you have. I think Alicia sent it to you. Go right ahead, buddy.
I got a question for you. Which of these 2 skill sets guarantee success more? You being able to recruit rock stars, 8s and 9s, coming in talented and they change the company overnight. Or 2, you knowing how to develop rock stars. Which of these 2 guarantees success? From my experience, when I was not a rock star and I got lucky and I recruited a rock star, I could never keep the rock star. Eventually, I obsessed over developing people to succeed in sales. Once I did that, all the rock stars started knocking on the doors because they wanted to work with me. This is why once a year I host an event called the Sales Leadership Summit. This year we're doing it March 25th through the 27th at Trump Doral. If you want to find out how you and your team can attend this event to learn how to become better sales leaders, click on a link below, fill out your information. One of our consultants will get a hold of you.
There you go, Rob. That's the QR code, and we're going to put the link below. Rob, if you can put the link below as well for people to go learn more about it and fill out the information. One of our representatives will call you and answer any questions you may have about the event, and hopefully we'll see you there March 25th to the 27th at the Trump Doral.
If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here.